What is more frightening? A face erased by time, or a voice that moved history and was ordered silent? Welcome to History Reborn AI. Behind the elegance of China's women scholars lies war, betrayal, exile, and poetry paid for with entire lives. Today, 20 of those faces return, drawn by AI from paintings, sculptures, and rare surviving photographs. Each hides a colder truth beneath the portrait history kept. Stay until number 1, where a woman loses nearly everything and still refuses to fall silent. If these forgotten voices move you, share them and follow this journey so they are never buried again. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Number 20. A fragile woman climbs a temple roof, a measuring tape in her hand, coughing into the winter air. Lin Huiyin belonged to the last century, a poet, a writer, and one of the first women of modern Chinese architecture. Her face survives in real photographs, family albums, and survey records made beside her husband, so AI does not have to guess. History remembers an elegant intellectual standing between poetry and ancient temple eaves. The truth was harsher. War drove her family across the country, and hard years deepened the illness already inside her lungs. She measured every brick to save the memory of a nation. She could not measure the time left in herself. Number 19. A woman stands before a mirror and sees a scholar's robe reflected where her own should be. Wu Zhao lived through the long decline of the Qing, one of the most striking authors of song lyrics and drama of her century. No verified portrait from her lifetime remains. Her face returns from later prints, idealized illustrations, and the calligraphy left in her name. The public remembers a bold poet who wrote her way past the walls built for women. The record of her private life is almost empty. Modern readings find desire and defiance in her verses, though certainty is impossible. On stage, she could change identity. Off stage, the door stayed locked from outside. Number 18. 841 characters, woven into silk, folding in every direction like a labyrinth. Su Hui lived in the 4th century, during the former Qin, in an age of shattered kingdoms. Her exact dates were never recorded. Her face survives only through later portraits and illustrations of a woman seated at her loom, so any reconstruction is interpretation rather than proof. Tradition claims she wove the poem to call a distant husband home. Some of those romantic details were likely added by later centuries, not written down in her own. Her grid can be read thousands of ways. Not one of those paths leads reliably back to her. Number 17. Ink bamboo bends in mist, painted by a hand the art world was never meant to allow. Guan Daosheng lived under the Yuan dynasty, a painter, calligrapher, and poet inside one of the most celebrated literary families of her age. Works under her name still hang in museum collections, though attribution of such ancient paintings demands caution, and her face reaches us only through later portraits. People remember her love poem about 2 clay figures broken and remade together. Legend says it stopped her husband from taking a concubine, and that story should be read as literary tradition. Her brushwork survived. Centuries later, people still ask whose wife she was before asking who she was. Number 60. A woman in a foreign hotel, writing in classical verse while the world outside her window speaks other languages. Bicheng crossed the end of the Qing and the years of the Republic as a poet, journalist, educator, and one of the earliest loud voices for Chinese women. Photographs of her survive in newspapers and studio portraits, giving AI a rare and reliable face. She looked modern, wealthy, unafraid. Behind that image stood a family broken by misfortune and a woman who bought her freedom with distance. She stepped out of the cage her era built for women, only to find that history could build another one out of silence. Number 15. Two poems on a garden wall, written years apart, by a man and a woman no longer permitted to speak. Tang lived in the Southern Song, though her dates and much of her biography remain uncertain. There is no contemporary portrait. Her image returns from a statue in Shen Garden, from later illustrations, and from the calligraphy of the verses tied to her name. Tradition claims her marriage to the poet Lu Yu was destroyed by his family, not by any failure of love. The famous reply attributed to her must be handled with care. They met again while the love still lived. The life that could have held it was already dead. Number 14. Burned pages drifting past a window into a winter garden. Zhu Shuzhen was a song poet, usually placed in the 12th century, though even the years of her life are disputed. Her face survives only in printed portraits and memorial statues made long after her death. She is remembered as the unhappy wife, sealed inside a marriage without love. The famous stories that her parents burned her poems, that she ended her own life, that a secret lover waited somewhere, come from late and contested sources. What remains certain is the loneliness in her lines. Perhaps they burned her poetry. Perhaps they did something crueler and burned the woman while keeping a convenient legend. Number 13. A noblewoman writes by lamplight while shadows whisper on the other side of the curtain. Taiqing lived through the 19th century under the Qing, admired for her song lyrics inside the walled gardens of the Manchu aristocracy. Later portraits, surviving calligraphy, and manuscripts of her verse give AI the material for a face no contemporary painter ever confirmed. She appears serene, cultivated, secure. She was not a principal wife, and her standing in the household was always fragile. After her husband died, the clan pressed in around her. A rumor linking her to another poet was never proven and should not be told as fact. Poetry kept her name alive. So did the rumor. Number 12. An autumn fan slips from a woman's hand and settles among yellow leaves. Jieyu served in the Western Han court, a consort and a scholar of real learning, who once refused to ride beside her emperor because history would remember the image. Her likeness comes from instructional paintings and lacquered screens made long after her time, never from life. She is remembered as the virtuous woman who withdrew with dignity when favor moved elsewhere. The colder truth is simpler. She was replaced. The famous poem of the abandoned fan carries her name, though its authorship remains disputed. She stood close enough to hear power breathing. Then the season turned, and the doors closed. Number 11. A girl watches snow falling and calls it willow catkins lifted by the wind. That single line made Xie Daoyun immortal in the Eastern Jin, a daughter of one of the greatest aristocratic clans of her century. No true portrait exists. She returns through later illustrations of that snowy courtyard and through memorial statues shaped entirely by imagination. History loves the child prodigy. It rarely follows her into the ending. Traditional biographies record that her husband was killed during the Sun En rebellion, and tradition claims she took up a blade to defend her household. The world remembers the snowflakes of her youth. Few remember the winter that swallowed her family. Number 10. Painted flowers on silk, and beyond the paper, a garden trampled by an army. Dong Xiaowan lived through the collapse between the Ming and the Qing, a poet, a painter, and one of the celebrated courtesans of the Qinhuai River. Flower paintings linked to her name, later portraits, and a husband's memoir give her a face, though attribution stays uncertain. Legend later crowned her an imperial consort of a Qing emperor. Reliable records do not support that claim, and it should be set aside. Her real life ended young, worn down by flight, war, and illness. Later ages handed her a palace. Perhaps the truth was simply too sad to keep. Number 9. A woman in a scholar's robe stands at the edge of a dark river while a dynasty burns behind her. Liu Rushi belonged to the final years of the Ming, a poet, painter, and calligrapher who rose out of the Qinhuai quarters into the highest literary circles of the empire. Portraits painted centuries later allow her image to be rebuilt, though nothing was confirmed from life. When the dynasty fell, the accounts say she demanded loyalty, and the celebrated scholar she married chose survival instead. After his death, his family closed in over the inheritance, and she ended her own life. She outlived a dynasty. She did not outlive her faith in anyone. Number 8. A Taoist nun writes verse beneath a pine, and years later stands before her own death sentence. Li Ye lived in the Tang, celebrated among the poets of her age for a directness few women were permitted. No contemporary likeness survives. Her face is drawn from later portraits, memorial statues, and the robes of Tang religious women. She is remembered as brilliant, free, and dangerously honest. Then rebellion swallowed the capital. Sources record that she wrote for the rebel court, whether under force or fear, no one can now say. And after the restoration, the emperor ordered her killed. In peacetime, poetry carried her toward the palace. In war, a single poem was enough. Number 7. A child born inside the palace as a slave grows up to write the words that move an empire. Shangguan Wan'er entered that world after her grandfather and father were executed, and rose to command the imperial documents of the Tang court. Her tomb and its epitaph were excavated in this century, giving archaeologists context, but never a confirmed face. So her image still depends on later paintings and imagination. History calls her the uncrowned female chancellor. It rarely lingers on the coup that killed her, or on the deliberate damage found inside her tomb. She wrote the orders that moved a dynasty. She could not write the line that saved herself. Number 6. A young Taoist nun, a poem, and an accusation that outlived every word she ever wrote. Xuanji lived at the end of the Tang, leaving behind roughly 50 poems of startling intelligence and loneliness. Her face survives only in portraits and illustrations printed centuries after her execution. The public remembers the scandal, a jealous woman who beat her maid to death and died for it. That story comes mainly from one early and sensational account, and scholars have long noted how an independent woman could be reshaped into a moral warning. Her guilt is not settled fact. Poetry gave her a voice. The trial ensured that no one would hear it again. Number 5. A woman completes the greatest history of her age, then writes the book that would be used against her own sex. Zhao served the Eastern Han court as a scholar and finished her family's monumental chronicle, teaching the women of the palace. Her face exists only in portraits painted more than 1,000 years later, elegant guesses rather than evidence. She proved a woman could write history. Her lessons for women urged education, but also humility, duty, and submission, and later centuries used those words to narrow the very door she opened. She placed her name inside history. Her sentences became a mirror that taught generations of women to lower their eyes. Number 4. A woman in a man's coat holds a short sword and stares straight into the camera. Huiyin lived at the end of the Qing, a poet, a feminist, and a revolutionary who called herself the woman Knight of Mirror Lake. Real studio photographs survive, so her reconstructed face rests on evidence rather than legend. She left an arranged marriage and her children, studied in Japan, and came home to organize an uprising against the dynasty. The plot collapsed. She was arrested and executed while still young, having refused to run while escape remained possible. She never saw the empire fall. Her death became the crack in its wall that could not be sealed. Number 3. Crimson paper, an old well in Chengdu, and poems that outlasted almost all of their own words. Xue Tao lived in the Tang, a poet, calligrapher, and registered entertainer whose small colored sheets became famous across the empire. Later portraits, early modern engravings, and the statue standing beside her well give AI something to work from, since no likeness from her lifetime survives. History remembers the elegant woman trading verse with the great writers of her day. It rarely mentions that her father's death is said to have pushed her into an official register she could not simply leave. A great collection once existed. Barely 90 poems remain of everything she wrote. Number 2. A cart rolls south toward home, while a mother looks back at 2 small figures she will never touch again. Cai Wenji was born at the end of the Eastern Han, daughter of a great scholar, and carried north as the empire collapsed. She spent roughly 12 years among the southern Xiongnu and bore 2 children there. Her face reaches us only through later hand scrolls of her return, a painted tradition, not a portrait. A warlord paid a ransom to bring her learning home, and the authorship of the laments attributed to her is still debated. An empire called it the day she came home. For a mother, it was the day she left forever. Number 1. A woman clutches a box of manuscripts while, far behind her, a library burns. Qingzhao, born in the northern Song, became the finest writer of song lyrics in Chinese literature. Her early verses are light: flowers, wine, longing, the small aches of happiness. Then invasion drove her south. The books and bronzes the couple had spent years gathering were scattered, stolen, or destroyed. He died on the road. A second marriage ended in scandal, though the details remain disputed. No confirmed portrait survives, so her face returns from later paintings and statues. War took her husband, her home, and everything she had collected. It could not take the voice, still sounding 9 centuries later. The faces have returned, but the pain behind them never left. Thank you for listening to the voices history tried to bury, and for carrying them a little further into the light.